Hi, dudes. That includes all you dudettes out there. Uncle Neil is now going to be Brother Neil. And I'm coming to you tonight from my priest cave. This is where all the dudist priest magic happens. And I'm into magic. As a dudist or philosophical Taoist, it has been my life's endeavor to explain what life is about. I have lost all my contemporary and older mates and traveled to many places, so I have great personal experience of tragedy, history, and beauty. While an expert in no specific field outside grief, I am well read and attend many YouTube lectures, so I'm not without a certain education. What, you think Bill Maher is the only one who can smoke on webcam? As an author, I also understand the significance of stories, which are details of a theme, and how to edit until a theme is consistent. My theme of everything is finally consistent for me, and that's the subject of this rumination. Previous ruminations on this subject have vanished from my library like relatives. I will also suggest some reasons why this should matter for you. There's a pun in there, but you'll understand later. In the beginning, there were photons and darkness, hot and cold, as it is impossible to have a condition pop into being without its opposite also popping. Taoists call this duality yin-yang, and both sides occur simultaneously, as do other dualities which spring into existence along with the originator. Kinda like tag-along deals. Tag-along dualities. Brother Neil forgot where he is and who he is. The resulting canvas, a dudist calls Tao. And Tao kept expanding until all matter within it had become unbound, so could no longer exist. Electrons, you see, form matter like drops of water form an iceberg, so were released into the calm sea of Tao. That's what I imagine Tao looked like. Here's to Tao. It's a little bit of red wine. It helps this kind of occupation go down easier. So, in their free state, electrons exist in all places at the same time. When Tao became an empty, circular, calm expanse, only one other force also existed: time. Pink Floyd sang about it. I call time Zen because while it's composed of all past events, it only moves forward. Like Zen, we only know what will happen when it happens. When it is now. This stamp of time is observable, you see, and Schrodinger felt that was significant. I don't, but what's to come, if anything is to come, remains in the realm of possibility. While Hawking tells us all possibility can happen mathematically, it would be pointless for more than one to do so, but I'll elaborate more about that in a moment. The point for now is that this reality is the only one and itself an illusion. And as Groucho Marx said about it, I might not believe in reality, but it's still the best place to get a good dinner. Now, time has no substance, so doesn't cause ripples in Tao, but it does affect the electrons. I'm guessing it magnetizes them. As they magnetically bond with other electrons, which are obviously also everywhere at once, a vibration forms between them. Here I'll further address other possibilities or strings as a bonus for you, because Brother Neil is a giving guy. I suppose various bonding groups might have different frequencies of vibration, but only those sharing a frequency are seeing the same illusion created within its waveform. The others, being illusions of their own, are as inconsequential to ours as ours to theirs. We call our vibrational waveform the universe. It looks more like that. And that explains why our shared idea of events are, like Bob Dylan, sort of vague. Now, none of this affects Tao because the vibration is happening between bonded electrons. Each electron in the collective bond is an actual person or soul, interpreting the wave's particles, just as our mind does with 5 or 6 senses. In fact, I postulate that senses are a representation of these particles. That means we are creating a story to explain the data inside a wave. Only other electrons, life forms we've actually observed, actually exist in this idea. All other life and environment are just story filler, which is shared within the vibration. This explains how seemingly rational people can be seeing or feeling different experiences, such as ghosts that others view as nonsense. UFOs, or whatever they're called these days, do not exist unless a story experiences one to explain other data in the story. If it does, then it's real for them, but then enters into our experience in the shared bonding. If one day I see things which have no reference in data that I might pull out, then I might pull out that idea and make it a real one for me as well. To what extent isn't worth guessing at. Leave it for another vibration to do that. I will grant that for each electron, this illusion feels deeply real. Most people who cut off their arm will experience great pain despite it being an illusion. My guess is that bonding feels like matter, which the electrons once formed in early Tao. So they relate the illusions to past forms. What we seem to see, hear, and feel are representations of the particles. For instance, water and air represent the vastness of Tao. Gravity is actually just magnetism. Love, I imagine, is a representation of Tao's calm, and really what our electron is seeking a return to. Calm, or peace, can only be achieved internally, but our illusion is representational of Tao being an external thing to us. Therefore, we first look externally, and our story creates the idea of love to make us look at ourselves. I get high. Knowing that this is an illusion, though, grants instant ramifications and benefits to a society freeing itself from the mistaken ideas of dogmatic enslavements. That any of this matters loses significance. If life is an illusion, then so is death, which I understand to be our electron's polarity changing, just as it does in our sun. Our electron will join another, and another, and another, and another million after that. Maybe more. That idea for me greatly lightens my experience of tragedy and grief. What are other benefits of this understanding? Well, a big one is an end to 98% of our social fights because neither science nor religion have any validity within this theory. It's not really a religion. It's based on science. It's a theory. If we are making up the story as data needs interpretation, then there is no beginning or after of life, so no worries about souls. Abortions are part of the story, that's all, and we can perform mercy deaths on any life form without concern. Euthanasia? Yes, of course it's all right. Murder is still a legal offense that requires punishment because society, even if illusionary, cannot happen without that condition. We must have a right to life. For more on that, see Thomas Hobbes in the State of Nature theory. You know, Leviathan, the one about our social contract and all. Without ideas to save our soul, our concept of life would radically change. We really are eternal, but not for the grace of some judgmental being. It's because we are a pure energy, as Spock told us in a song. Pure energy, pure energy, pure energy. It really wasn't much of a song. Electrons are not conscious, however. They hold no memory of our illusion's details since they have no brain tissue. A brain was only an illusionary organ for sorting info and temporary storage of it. No part of our body actually exists. This is demonstrated by yogis who can set themselves on fire and sit calmly while they burn. That could not happen if the body were real. Only the scientific side, if gravity is a representation of magnetic attraction, then on the scientific side, and I'm sorry to screw up on occasion, I'm not only high, I'm drinking wine. It's a deadly combination, I'm told. I only do 8 ounces of red wine a night. It opens the arteries. I'm also told that. Let me start this again. On the scientific side, if gravity is a representation of magnetic attraction, then Einstein was wrong. Bohr was closer to correct, and our answers lie in quantum physics. So we are not discarding science. Dudists embrace science, but are not slaves to it. Some theories have to go, like evolution. It doesn't carry over well because an illusionary species doesn't really evolve from anything. It simply springs into being, so religion is closer to right on this one. That's too for religion. That's concerning. Of course, there was also no garden time with God, so no sin. That entire argument falls away like a fig leaf. We exist only until our magnetic poles reverse, and then it all disappears. All of it. Salvation becomes a concept of mind, you see, not of soul. This also means that each of us really are Buddha. With this as a simplified foundational belief, the Buddhist ideal expression of nirvana, which is infinite space, can easily be in harmony with a Taoist ideal expression of immortality, which is infinite time. But if we are our own deity, then we should act a bit more like one we would like to be. If this concept were born by the breaking of holy water, then a new attitude would necessarily form within 2 or 3 generations, I should imagine. Attitudes which favor experiences and diversity of expression, Tolerance and humor, playfulness and discovery would likely be the norm. Nobody would consider the past as anything more than a flawed guideline, so it would no longer bedevil us. Time only moves forward, after all, so the only fix of history is to do better for all in the now. With those understandings and many others out of the way, future humans should also be free of smugness and greed. They would understand that we are all one organism having an experience of many, so inequality makes no sense. Just as Spinoza ruminated about in the 18th century, being abhorrent to our theme, I expect it would naturally fall away. Probably quickly. A word about killing insects and such, though. Harming a so-called life is not a crime against nature, as that electron's polarity has merely changed. But it isn't kind. I suspect that kindness would also be more vogue in this idea, if this idea were to become popular among the masses. And that brings me to love. Love. Ah, yes, love. Was it only the fitful dream of some greater awakening? That's a reference to Jackson Browne. Love is an emotion and Tao has no emotion. It has no features at all. That's the point of it. Tao doesn't know about us. So how is this artist, previously known as God, a loving one? Hold up hand. Brother Neil hears you on this question. We have examined that love is representative of Tao, which is calm. If that is true, then it's not love we seek, it is calm. Meditation is therefore an attempt to get back to where we once belonged. Yeah, I went there. In conclusion, I'll say that I'm an accidental sage, or traveler. And this is what I've made of the rocks and twigs I've picked up. I think it's consistent with logic, science, and human spirituality. We could really solve our problems instead of just creating more, but that's up to y'all. It's basically a determined decision as a bridge away from dogmatic theocracy. It is also an overthrow of dogmatic cultures. So, I'm all for overthrowing dogmatic cultures. If we declare this idea true for each of us, just as we do the idea that certain liberties or rights exist in nature, then we shift the rock. This is how we begin the process toward healing from our mental sicknesses. I guess the kids will love us all the more if I'm wrong about them no longer existing. But look, Tao don't care. On that note, I'll wish all you dudes and dudettes peace and calm.